Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Alicia and I am the owner of Alicia Be Creative. Today's tutorial is this sweet but twisted peppermint inspired tumbler with this cute little candy cane handle to go along with. So of course everything I use in today's tutorial will be listed and linked down in the description box, and you'll even find some discount codes to save yourself a little bit of extra money. Let's go ahead and jump right into today's tutorial. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started, and these are the supplies that I'm going to be using today. I, of course, will walk you through where I've gotten each of these supplies, and I'll list them down in the description box as well. I am, though, going to be starting with a 20-ounce tumbler that was formerly a sublimation design that I wasn't quite fond of, didn't like how the print came out. So we're going to revamp this tumbler and make it something cute. So I'm using this peppermint swirl pattern vinyl from Shop Vinyl Gallery, and I am going to cut about a 2.5 to 3 inch section. Again, I'm not really measuring this, I'm just sort of guessing. I really want to cut this tumbler into 3 sections. So I'm going to have vinyl across the center as well as glitter on both ends of the cup. And so I'm just kind of eyeballing what is going to be the midway point of the cup and just about how much of that center section I want to be covered in vinyl. So starting with this section of vinyl here, I'm just going to eyeball about the midpoint here of the center of the cup, and we're going to get this section of vinyl wrapped around the tumbler. Now, if you really want it to be precise, of course you could go ahead and measure the length of your tumbler and then cut it into 3 sections equally. I am just someone who has been doing this long enough where I'm pretty good at guessing as to where the center section of my tumbler is and just about where I need everything to line up. So I typically just kind of eyeball it and go with the flow. So once I've gotten that wrapped around the center section with vinyl, we're going to cut off all of that excess, of course, with my craft knife, and then we're kind of done with the vinyl section here. So this is a peppermint swirl, of course, inspired vinyl, and once I'm done with that wrap, I'm going to cover up the vinyl with a bit of painter's tape, and that's really just going to keep it protected from the painting and spray paint that I'm going to be using to establish our colors, and of course cover up all of that sublimation from the original design. So starting with my 1-inch painter's tape, I'm trying to now establish my lines that are going to be my red and white swirl lines to represent my peppermint swirl or candy cane. So I'm using 2 strips of the 1-inch painter's tape to create a 2-inch section. I'm then going to use a 1-inch painter's tape sort of marker so that I can separate a 1-inch section to be the next color. I'll then go back with my 1-inch painter's tape and again create 1 to 2 lines in that section. At the end of this clip, you'll kind of see how all of the lines kind of played out. And so what's exposed is going to be my white lines, but using the 1-inch painter's tape really left me with a not completely even swirl. So I have a couple of like thick 2-inch red swirls, one 2-inch section which will be the white swirl. So it was a little bit uneven, and if I really wanted to, I could have taken this into Cricut Design Space and measured out strips of vinyl after, measuring the width of my cup, but I kind of just decided I was fine with that. We're going to go with just sort of this swirl version here. And so I did take that to the spray tent and I sprayed a few layers of white spray paint. And so now what you're seeing me do in sort of that fast mode there is I'm just removing the removing the tape I had laid down originally and using that same tape and new tape to cover up the painted sections. So now I'm covering up all of the white painted sections because I want to keep those protected so they don't get spray painted with our red glitter. So we're starting with the darkest color, which was why I spray painted the section white first. I wanted to keep that kind of protected, but not have to go back and have to do multiple coats of the chalk paint that I'll be using later. So we've gone ahead and again removed those strips of tape and covered the white up. Spray painted this with Stiletto from Colorshot, the spray paint, and so now we're going to be adding our layers of Mod Podge here to all of the exposed sections of the cup. The majority of this tumbler is going to be red, including the bottom. So this is going to be the bulk of the cup is going to be covered in red glitter. So we're going to do that color first to make sure we don't end up contaminating our white glitter, which of course we want to remain bright and vibrant. So I'm going to go through this and cover my Mod Podge here with this red glitter. This is from Myra Makes It, her baddie glitter. This is called Michelson. So if you're a fan of Vampire Diaries, this is named after one of the characters or the family from one of the characters in the Vampire Diaries series. So I've gone ahead and covered that entirely. It's a beautiful chunky red mix. I just feel like it really does lend itself to like a really spooky vibe if you needed it to, but also perfect for a more Christmas design as well. So because this is a chunkier mix, I do want to make sure that this glitter lays flat and that I don't end up with anything sticking up, because that is really going to be a pain in the butt when I go to epoxy this later if I have a bunch of glitter sticking up. After I have smushed down my glitter with my parchment paper, I'm now going to remove all of the tape off of the cup. That way we can get into finishing up the glitter section, which is going to be placing our white glitter. So this is what it looks like so far. And so even with the 2 coats of my white spray paint, you really could still see the print underneath, which was the original sublimation design. And so I wanted to make sure that that didn't show through my white glitter. So I'm going to cover up this white section, all the white sections, with white chalk paint. Chalk paint is really opaque and does a really great job at covering up sublimation really well, and I really was happy with how easy I was able to get this applied. It dries super quick too. If you've ever used chalk paint, it really does dry very quick as well, and so I was really happy that I was able to get all of sort of that faint image underneath covered completely so that I didn't have to worry about that peeking through my white glitter. So once I've gotten all of the sections painted with my white chalk paint, I'm just going to wait a couple minutes and then I'm going to go back in and apply a layer of Mod Podge over the white paint. That way we can get these sections glittered. So the glitter we're going to use for the white sections, the white stripes here, is Flashy Snowflake. That's from Maestra Creations. I have a link and discount code down in the description box to save you a little bit of money. But we're going to go ahead and take that paintbrush and just very carefully paint these sections with the Mod Podge. That way we can get our glitter applied to these sections. So Flashy Snowflake is a little bit of a different vibe of white, I would say. It gives off this beautiful like silver sort of sparkle to it. So although it is a very much a white glitter, it definitely sparkles differently than some of the other white glitters in my collection, which I love. And I just felt like it played that silver sort of sparkle played so well to the vinyl that I'm using for this tumbler, because it really does just blend so nicely, because even the white that is sort of in the print here, because it's more of a 3D vibe print, it really gives off a little bit more silver than it does white. So I just felt like this is a really good match for that. So I'm going to finish painting off these sections here. As I go through getting and glittering those sections, you'll also notice that I go back with my hand and just sort of tap that glitter in, and that's really just to make sure I don't have to go in with multiple coats of glitter. I like to try and only stick with one coat of glitter, make my life a little bit easier. Once I've gotten all of the white glitter applied, I'm going to go ahead and tap off the excess. I'm going to let this dry for a little bit, and then I will brush off all the excess glitter as well as spray seal this quite a bit to make sure that I get a nice good covering of that before it goes on the turner for coats of epoxy. We're now on to the next step in the process. So this has gone on the turner. It's gotten about 3 coats of epoxy until it was pretty smooth. And now we're going to go ahead and sand. I did use Flynn's Sisters Fast Cure to get this sort of epoxied really quickly and get me to move on to the next step of this design. So now, of course, we're going to add all of our washi tape and our vinyl line work here to the cup. So this is the next step in the process, and I always like to wait to do this step when it comes to washi tape or vinyl lines when my cup is completely smooth. I want to make sure I'm working on a nice smooth surface. I've done any sanding that's necessary before I add my vinyl work, because any little bump on your cup that is not smooth is going to show underneath your vinyl or whatever decal you're going to be placing. So you really want to make sure you're working with a smooth cup, and whether that's from adding more coats of epoxy, if it's still too rough to sand smooth with a sanding block, or sanding down any of those little areas that can be a little bit troublesome, like the top edge and bottom edge of your cup. So starting with this red washi tape, I just sort of split those white sections in half with the washi tape sort of as that peppermint swirl line. Now we're going to go back into the red sections here, and we're going to do the same with this holographic silver that I'm working with as well. So we're just going to split those sections in half to sort of just represent and look like a, again, candy cane or peppermint swirl. So we're using this holographic silver washi tape for the red section, again playing to the vinyl that has more of that silver sparkle and the white that we have that has that silver sparkle as well, instead of going with just a plain traditional white vinyl line here. So once I get all of my vinyl lines applied for the swirls, I'm going to trim up any sections that I need to, and I'm going to make sure that all of the vinyl lines are where I want them to be. Now we're going to go in with this thicker washi tape that I believe I also picked up from Hobby Lobby. It was definitely either Hobby Lobby or Michael's. I'm always in like the scrapbook and washi tape section and picking up new washi tape, but this is a bit thicker than the 2 lines of washi tape that I used before. And so I'm going to use this to sort of make that center vinyl section pop out really nicely. So I'm putting that red washi tape, which is a bit thicker than the others, and putting those on the top and bottom. And then I'm going to go through and layer on top the holographic silver washi tape right in the middle of that red to give that an additional pop, sort of like an offset that I typically do for my decals, which I'm also going to be doing for this decal as well. And just to kind of give it, you know, a little bit of extra zhuzh, if you will. So now that we are onto our decal, this is the Sweet and Twisted decal, which I've actually had for quite a while. I believe I purchased it from Bear Trend Digi Designs off of Etsy. I used a just plain red vinyl, and then I also am using a silver adhesive foil vinyl from BAMP Custom Creations. So she sent in her last subscription box a bunch of different like foil vinyls to use, and I absolutely love it because this is actually not something I usually have in my collection of vinyl. So it was really nice to have this, and I feel like it was perfect for this project. So once I've gotten my vinyl applied, I'm happy where everything is placed. Now I get to work on the handle. So these handles are 3D printed. This one, of course, is shaped like a candy cane, and I did get other handles as well, but they're all from Sculpistry. I found her on Instagram and immediately fell in love with all these different versions of handles that I could use on a cup, and I grabbed up a whole bunch of them, but I'll go ahead and link the website for these handles down in the description box as well. A lot of different design size for 20 ounce and 30 ounces, what I saw was most popular. And so I'm just going to adhere that candy cane with a little bit of UV resin, and we're just going to let that cure for a full 2 minutes. Now that the handle is adhered to our cup, we're now going to glitter it. I thought about glittering it before I adhered it to the cup, but then I thought about how troublesome it might be to try and hold that and glitter it without messing up the glitter or smudging the Mod Podge. So I just thought it would be smarter for me to wait to glitter it until it was actually on the cup. Would just make it a little bit easier because I wouldn't have to try and figure out how I was going to hold it and also get it glittered at the same time. So we just applied a white glitter on the candy cane for that. And so we're going to let the candy cane dry for a little bit, but now I'm going to go back over the entire cup with Mod Podge. So typically you guys usually see me use Minwax polyacrylic to seal my vinyl lines, but I don't often talk about the fact that you can also use Mod Podge to seal. So definitely don't feel like you have to go out and buy that. Use your Mod Podge, does the exact same thing. So of course, once this was done, this went on the turner for 2 final coats of epoxy, and that was kind of it. Hope you guys enjoyed today's tutorial, and if you did, give this video a huge thumbs up, and I'll see you guys again in the next one. Bye!